Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I'm not there in person today, but today I'd love to take you through the biosecurity code of practice and actually a few other things. I thought I'd give you a bit of an update on the new online platform we've got called BMAX, tell you a little bit about what the apiary inspectors are up to, talk about the apiary code of practice, and then obviously the code of practice. But before I do that, I wanted to give you a bit of an idea on how big our beekeeping industry in Victoria has gotten. Back in 2019, we had just over 8,000, nearly 9,000 beekeepers. At the end of 2020, we were on our way to 12 and a half. And right now we're sitting on 12,842 registered beekeepers. They're the ones we know about. That's a lot of beekeepers. And I suspect it's growing. But I printed this report for you this afternoon or this morning because I wanted to give you a bit of an idea on why you guys are so important to me and in my role. There's 11,000 plus beekeepers who have between 1 and 5 hives. Now that number absolutely fluctuates, but if you look at the breakdown for anyone who's got, 50 hives or more, it's probably about 400 people. So most of the beekeepers that I would deal with every day, day in, day out, belong to the recreational backyard beekeeper. So there's a lot of you. Anyway, there's a great, we're all cool. Did you realize we're all cool now, beekeeping? Oh, God. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about how we're going to control 11,000 plus of you. No, we're not. Got this new online platform called BMax or Bees Online. And it's just a way that you can keep all of your information updated, email, websites, if you wanted to load that in there, addresses, telephone numbers, just a really quick way for you to be able to manage it. Think of it a little bit like your one-stop shop. Now, it's quite helpful for us in the sense that we can get a bit of a gist on what's happening in the industry. If there are areas that are experiencing high pest and disease notifications, or just trends in the industry itself, whether that's weather dependent. It's really good for us to be able to know too, but we tend to only access any of this info in emergencies. So if you haven't logged in yet, this is what you're going to see. You want to register new. Just log in with your email address that you provided, Agriculture Victoria. And then once you've logged in, you'll come to a page like this. Now, this is my page. And I don't know if you can see there, my beekeeper registration number is A007. Yes, I'm a Bond girl. But you'll get things like your website, your email address, your telephone numbers, and it's just basic contact details, right? Nothing too flash. But up the top, there's a button called Apiaries. So what you would do is go in, hands up if you've already had an email come to you from us saying, hey, can you tell us a little bit more information about where your hives are kept? Thank you. There's a few hands going up there. Thanks, Jude. That's mostly because we just want to understand hives in an area. It's just a suburb, not a postcode, but more the suburb. We had all those fires at the beginning of the year. There were beekeepers that we didn't know were there. So it's a really great tool that if everybody could load their apiaries in, and if they're at your home, that's fine. You just register it, it's your home. But if you could go in there and pop them in. Now, for somebody a little bit like Scott and Amanda, who've got hives all over Ballarat, they might just want to highlight a few main ones in the suburbs. So don't get too carried away. I know you've got like lots. But think about just where your apiary is located, and that is purely for reporting an emergency situation. The next button at the top is called Diary. Now, this is actually one of my favorite things because I get asked a lot about how should I keep my records? Well, we've gone pretty basic, but when you click that, you'll be able to enter that your fact that you did a mite check or that you did an inspection. Now, you can add as much info in there as you want or as little. But it's pretty basic. Now, if you're thinking about moving your record keeping online, have a go. See if it's useful for you. You do not have to use it. You can continue to keep records in your diary, on your chalkboard in the shed, on your Excel spreadsheet, wherever you want to keep them. But if you want a bit of a help onto improving your record keeping, feel free to jump into that diary section and upload your details. We're only sending out 2 automatic emails at the moment. One is for apiaries and the other one is just to remind people to do a sugar shake. If you get that automatic reminder now, please ignore it. Now is not the time to conduct a sugar shake test until spring. So it's just a reminder. I'm trying to fix the system, and I will gladly take any feedback that you guys want to see improvements made in that site. Send me an email and we'll make some changes. I'm working with some IT guys at the moment. But if you get a sugar shake reminder now, ignore it until spring. All right, enough about VMAX. I thought I'd give you a bit of a heads up about what the apiary inspectors are mostly focusing on at the moment. So you're probably aware we're a pretty small team of 4. You've got Joe Reardon, who is just about to experience, I think, 20 years in the gig. You've got leading apiary inspector Paige McDonald, who's joined the team. Nikki Jones is the lead apiary inspector. And then we have a couple of other people that we bring in and out, and myself as well. So mostly the team look after surveillance. As you are aware, our greatest line of defense is really early detection for exotic pests. And so our port surveillance is critical. And they conduct that every 6 months in all the ports around Victoria. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. There could be 2 or 3 visits. You've probably heard recently about the Purple Hive project. If you saw Nikki on the news or heard her on the TV or radio, we're working with quite a few companies at the moment. There's Hivekeeper, who've got a hive down at one of the ports, and Purple Hive project. So it's very exciting that industry is getting behind it and trying to figure out ways to keep Varroa out of the country. So port surveillance is still massive in a big way. Every day we get lots of calls and try to work with beekeepers around reducing the spread of the pests and diseases that they get. That's a given. Telephone calls, emails, we're doing face-to-face things, and we do a lot of compliance work on the road. Due to COVID, we still have some restrictions at play. We normally haven't been able to go out face-to-face yet, but that's just starting to emerge now, which is great news. So I can't wait to see you guys face-to-face soon. Still doing loads of emergency prepared work. So you would have heard of teams like the State Quarantine Response Team, the SQUIRT team. We're also looking at doing a beelining course at the end of the year, potentially. So we've always got to keep our eye on how can we be prepared if it ever gets here. And that's up for brawler fly as well, right? That's in Tasmania, but not here on the main line. So we're interested in keeping everything out that shouldn't be here. And then there's obviously compliance work. So at the moment, we've been doing quite a bit of stuff regarding American foul brood out in the fields. So neglected hives, or, you know, maybe some beekeepers have passed away and haven't been able to get to them yet. So we're working with families trying to manage those hives. So the team are pretty flat out. But the one thing at this time of year and coming into spring, we spend a lot of time on, that's the apiary code of practice. Hands up if you've heard of the apiary code of practice. Yep, a few of you have. Good. If you haven't, look at one of those people who's put their hand up and talk to them about it. The apiary code of practice is really important if you live in a residential area. It gives you ideas on how many hives you can have on your land before the amount of bees in that location can become a bit of a nuisance to your neighbours. It's all about making sure that your hive's got water, that you're preventing as much as possible your swarming, that your bees are registered, of course, but distances from boundaries. It's a really important document, and I recommend that you speak to Jude or anybody else in the team. Scott will have a copy of this to have a look at it and read it thoroughly. Have you ever heard of the term happy wife, happy life?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is your good neighbour policy. This is happy neighbours, happy life. So have a read of this document if you haven't already. And, you know, just be mindful of your neighbours. And if you follow these rules, then you'll have nothing to worry about. All right, the apiary code of practice, get onto it. What I thought I'd talk to you about is the biosecurity code of practice. Now, if you haven't heard about this before, it pretty much outlines what you need to do to keep your bees healthy and also protect the honeybee industry as a whole. It's not a manual on how to keep bees, because if you've ever had 5 beekeepers in a room at once and ask about one thing, there's 10 different ways to do it, and they're all correct. So you can choose to do these steps however you want, whatever's best for your situation. Think of it as a guide, but you've got to try to get these steps down. Now, Victoria has been amazing. We've been forefront in Australia. We've already placed this code into our legislation. That's kind of what it looks like. It's really boring to take you through it. So I thought what I would do is take you through the steps. I'm probably only going to do 8 for you, but if you get a chance, go onto the beaware.org.au website and look up this. It's on a PDF version, so you can open it up online as well. You can do Control F and find. So then you can do searches for things like food or whatever you're looking for in the code. That's the easiest way to read it. So without further ado, let me take you through my top 8. Are you ready? Get a pen and paper ready. Number 1, be registered. It is absolutely essential out of all of the other steps and that this one is followed. There has to be some kind of up-to-date register of beekeepers and their contact details so that we can notify you in an event of an emergency. Now, that could possibly mean a fire, and we have a lot of them in Victoria and Australia. It could be an exotic disease outbreak. It could be some kind of natural disaster like, small hive beetles coming, whatever it might be. But we need to be able to contact you. So logging into that Bee Max website, that Bees Online website, and making sure that your contact telephone number is addressed and your contact telephone number is up to date and your email address is up to date is absolutely critical. We need to be able to support you to make sure that we protect your bees in whatever situation it is. And of course, Varroa is not here yet. So that would be like number 1 that everyone thinks about all the time. We need to let you know if something's going to happen. One other thing that I'll just talk about regarding registration is we know that in spring your hive numbers increase. That doesn't mean you have to go online and change your hive numbers. Don't worry about that too much. If you're going to jump from 10 to 50, yes, do it. But if you fluctuate, which hives do, sometimes we don't make them through winter, sometimes we get more in spring, that's okay. You can't, we're not going to get into trouble for that. But keep it in mind, and when your registration comes up for renewal, pop in what you've got at that time. That's fine, if that makes sense. But there is a form that you fill out called a notify of disposal. Now, if you want to give away a hive, you fill that form in. And COVID has been probably one of the best examples of traceability that I guess in my life have probably ever seen. And I want you to think about this form like traceability, disease traceability. So if you've got a sick hive or you've brought a hive in from somewhere, if we know where it went to, we can work with people and sort it out really super fast. But we have to know where it came from or where it went. So filling in that form, it's just on our website. The Agriculture Victoria website. You can go on there and under the bees, look for the notifying or disposing of hives and fill them out. And that's a good way too to make sure that the beekeeper you're giving it to is also registered. Aha. All right. Any questions about registration? I can pause here and you can ask Jude. I'm only joking, Jude. All right, number 2. Number 2 would be, I've got the hotline. Oh, actually, I've just popped up the hotline there. If you get stuck registering, we've got a bee register hotline, 1-800-356-761. It should show up on your screen now. Give the ladies a call. They are working from home still, but they are still available. So if you get stuck on the Bee Max website, you can call them directly as well. They'll look after you. All right, number 2. Making sure that your boxes are constructed correctly. And the main reason for that is the spread of disease is very, very easy when they can get in and rob from the back. So you want to make sure that your hive doesn't have any holes or gaps, that there's one entrance that they can protect and make sure that they don't get robbed and can protect themselves against that from happening. So make sure your boxes are constructed correctly and that they're branded. Now, have a bit of fun with branding. You can paint your boxes. You can do whatever you want. You could burn that, stencil it, carve it. You can get your brand on there however you like, as long as it is not less than 19 millimeters. And that's mostly because we all wear glasses now. We can't see. No, it's not. You make it as big or as little as you want, everybody, but make sure your boxes are branded. Now, something that I always get asked about from a branding perspective is if you're buying hives from somebody else and they've already got a brand on it, let's say for the most part, most people do all of their painting and branding during winter. That's what we do because it's quiet and we don't have to be out in the field with the bees. Stack them all up, making sure they're all in the shed, do them all at once. Make sure you change your brand before you take them back out into the field. Make sense? Okay, good job.
Can I just ask where does your registration number have to be, Ali? Is it on the front?
It can be anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. Now, a wise beekeeper once gave me a bit of a tip. So you know how that the burr comb can build up and then you go to put a box back on or a queen excluder back on and it feels skew-whiffy? A beekeeper once told me that if I put my brand on the exact same part of each and every box, for example, on the back in the bottom corner, when I do my inspections and I take that off and put it on the, on the ground, when I go to put it back on, I know exactly which way is the right way. And actually it changed my life because the propolis kind of sits back in like Lego. So you don't have to move it around and crunch away, and I don't damage or kill bees in the process. It's sort of quick and easy and it's in the right spot. So put it however you want. But I do recommend that you put your brand on every single box.
Yeah.
In saying that, we know what kind of job that's like. So if we walk up to a hive and we know that the brand is on the bottom and it's 3 boxes high, that hive belongs to that person. But in a situation where somebody might steal those hives, then you don't know whose it belonged to or where it's located or gone. So recommend 1 registration brand on every single box. Jude says yes. Moving right along. Now, I'm sure you've already gone, yes, I'm registered. My boxes are beautiful and they're branded well. But I wonder if you know this one. Now, this is reporting of notifiable diseases. Now, there's immediate, without delay, which means pretty fast, and within 7 days of notification. Now, I'll start with the 7 days. Did anybody know that chalk brood is a notifiable pest and disease?
Oops.
Look, to be honest, I live in Wood End and we all live in Victoria and our weather is a shocker, and chalk brood, pretty much everyone experiences chalk brood. You can text us, email us. There's an email address at the bottom there, the Honeybee Biosecurity email address. You can let us know any way you like about chalk brood, but let us know. It would be really good because before when I said about having an up-to-date register or putting information in, we can understand if there are problems being experienced in Victoria, then the government can invest money to figure out what's going on or do something about it. If we don't know there's problems, then we can't fix it. So notify about chalk brood, European foul brood, and nosema. Now, in truth, those 3 are very environmental stresses that happen on hives. So we would always expect them to happen. We've had the worst season for all those 3. But it's also good to know and be able to speak with beekeepers if they don't know what to do next or don't know what to do to help when your bees get those things. And so we've got lots of information and we can support you as best as possible. But give us a call, text us, or email us. Without delay, though, is American foul brood and brawler fly. Now, brawler fly isn't in the exotic section from an immediate perspective because it is currently in Tasmania, but it's not here on the mainland. So without delay, call us. It's really important. And obviously, if you think that you've seen something like a deformed wing virus, which we often get calls for, or Varroa mite, call the exotic plant pest hotline. Now that number, Jude, does that come up on the screen? 1-800-084-881. If you forget my number, if you forget our email address, honeybee.biosecurity@agvic.com.au, that's the number to never forget, just in case. Call them. You'll probably get transferred back through to us anyway, but they will support you as best as possible. And it's critical that you give them a buzz if you ever see anything like that. All right. And the reason that stuff is critical is, and I mentioned it before, but Varroa, we are the only major honey producing country in the world to not have Varroa destructor mite. So Joe and I and Nikki and Paige say it's not coming in on our watch, everybody. We're doing everything we can to keep it out. But it's one of the reasons why the sugar shaking is so critical. And so you as a beekeeper have a job to do. Twice per year, that's been put into our legislation, you need to get your drone uncapper out if you've got drones, conduct a drone uncapping, and then follow it up with like a sugar shake or an alcohol wash. Now, you can do either of those two, whichever ones you want. We say the drone uncapping first because you can absolutely, in an instant, see if there is a mite on those big pearly white drones. You may not always have drones. So back it up with a sugar shake or an alcohol wash. Now, if there's any new beekeepers in the room, we recommend you do a sugar shake test because it's about building a habit right now. We don't have Varroa mite here yet. We don't want it to be here, but if you can start building the behavior, looking for it constantly, if it was here, you already know how to do this stuff. You will find it immediately. And actually, brawler fly can be picked up from this test as well. Now, the one tip I'll give you is use pure sugar, pure icing sugar, not icing mixture, because icing mixture's got corn floury stuff through it, some kind of starch. You don't want to put that in it, so just pure icing sugar. And I got two more tips for you. I always take a white bucket with me now. Now that I wear glasses, my eyesight's bad. So if you go out to your hive, you've got your one bucket with your, a little bit of water and disinfectant with your hive tools in it, and your smoker sits on the top like a little galvanized bucket. It's easy to carry. In the other hand, carry like an ice cream bucket. If you have to go to the supermarket and eat 5 liters of ice cream to get it, that's okay. It's
Not all bad.
Use a white bucket because when you put a bit of water in it and you shake the icing sugar into it, you'll see everything because the icing will melt, the icing sugar melts, and you'll see anything floating on top. And the only other thing I'd say is you will give the girls a little bit of concussion doing this, but you won't kill them like an alcohol wash. But the alcohol wash is by far the one that is probably much better to do for this test, in the sense that you will get an instant mite load response. It's just that we would prefer you practice doing sugar shake first, especially if you can't find your queen, because we don't want you to drop her in the alcohol wash. Does that make sense? Everyone feel good with those little tips?
Yeah. What about photo number 2? We were talking yesterday about shaking bees and said they had to be from brood combs.
Yes.
Because we want the nurse bees. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah, we do. So they love being around those nurse bees. What I do, I tend to find that 2 frames is enough. Mm-hmm. If you're doing your inspection and you find your first frame has brood on it, can't see the queen, sit it down because you're going to use it. Then grab the next one. Have a look. If there's brood on that one and you like the look of it and you can't see the queen, shake that frame straight onto your paper or cardboard or whatever container you've got to catch them in. Put that frame back in. Then do the next frame that you sat out to the side straight on the paper. Pick it up, slide it into the cup straight away. 2 on average, I get enough bees. Now, it might take you some time to practice the old flick and you'll feel a bit bad, but if you nice sudden shock, shake the bees off and you'll find that will be ample from 2 brood frames. Does that answer your question, Jude?
Yes, thank you.
Nikki's got a cool device that her dad made her that is a piece of PVC pipe. I think it's like drain pipe. And he's built this little beautiful wooden handle, zipped so that it stays half shaped. It's quite long and he's rounded the end off. And so she holds it over the hive and then just shakes the frame straight into that. It catches in it and then she just slides them straight in. It's another cool tool to use for beekeepers. We always love kits. So, it doesn't have to be paper. But whatever you do, if you don't have a bucket with water, something that's white and plain, not newspaper, because you won't see a little black mite running around on black ink. But I hope that's a good tip. There are loads of videos out there, you guys, on how to conduct sugar shakes. And there's loads of research around how hard to shake them, you know, the pressure, how many rolls. If you do a couple of rolls, sit it down and let the bees wriggle around in it for 2 minutes and then do it again, we'll be able to get a mite off them. So just have a good practice with it. But don't do it now. Do it in spring. Okay? All right. Good job. Next would be record keeping. Now, this by far would be one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm a bit of a dork when it comes to records. I think I started with a little booklet notepad. Now I've gone to Excel because I can search. You can keep your records however you like, as long as you keep them. And these 6 points are the things that you must record every single time you do an inspection. So what was the date? What was the strength of my hive? Did I see any pests or diseases? And what did I do to manage them? So for example, you might see some small hive beetle. Did you put a little trap in there? You know, did you move those hives anywhere? Did they go from one place to another? Did you introduce a new queen, or did you bring a swarm into the apiary? And what else did you do regarding biosecurity? Did you wash your suit? Which is quite, you're allowed to do that. Did you take photos? What was the weather like? You could keep records on anything, you guys. But that's a really good start. If you can write those down, tick, 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 good start. Put it on Facebook. You could record it on your phone. You could record it anyhow you want. The only thing that I would say about record keeping, this is actually a live photo. This is a real photo of a beekeeper who unfortunately passed away, and nobody knew where the hives were. Now, that's a lot of money for a family that could have probably, was already sad, probably wanted to manage the bees but didn't know where they were. But actually, it was a really, really big biosecurity risk as well. So the only thing that I would ask about keeping your records is you tell your bestest friend in the whole world where you keep your records, so that if anything ever happened, if you got sick or you had to go into hospital or you went overseas because you won Taxlotto and you had 6 months off, whatever it might be, you've got somebody who can continue where you left off. So tell your bestest friend in the whole world where you keep your records. Passwords included if it's on, like, you know, apps or something. All right, so right now, I know you're all registered. I know you built your boxes correctly and you're getting your brand on it, aren't you? I know you are. I know you're keeping your records and you're planning to do your sugar shake, and you're going to call me if you see anything weird. But how do you keep up to date with all this stuff, with all the new pests and diseases? Well, there's a course, and I know you probably are all aware of this already, called the Biosecurity for Beekeepers course. We call it the bulk course, the online training. You may not know that it's actually free at the moment. Yay, free! Sorry, free. I got excited. It's free. It's free from, it was free middle of last year to probably the middle of this year. So I'm trying to tell as many people as I can, please, please, please do it. It only costs like $25, but if you can do it for free now, I reckon get on. And the reason I love this course in particular is because it's in modules. So if you've fed the kids and they've gone to bed and you've only really got another half an hour to go before you hit the, fall asleep, jump online and do one module, then leave it and maybe go back, a couple of days later at your lunch break and do another module. You can keep going backwards and forwards as much as you like. And there's a little test at the end, and there's little tests all the way through. I think you'll all fly through it, but I actually think you'll really learn a lot by doing the course. Now, you'll get a certificate at the end, and it's valid for 3 years. But if Victoria got any new pests or diseases, we'll update the data in this. So all the bee biosecurity officers across Australia, we all meet every month and we talk about what's new, what's happening, what should we change, what processes are you using? And this is the area where we get to go back in and update that information. So no new pests or diseases have been loaded into this course for 4 years now. Phew, let's keep it that way.
Yeah,
but
I think
it has been updated.
I think I mentioned to you, Ali, that over the last 18 months, about 30 people from our club have done that course and
Fantastic.
passed, and we've given them a free book.
Oh,
Honey
wow.
Security.
That's awesome.
So we're looking at maybe extending that. We'll see. We've got to talk about it at the committee yet, but
Oh.
it's been really good to see everyone's got on board with that.
Well, you have a very, like a really great biosecurity team, and your practices that you teach in your club are bar none. I actually spruik your club a lot about your biosecurity approach. So keep going. That's great. See how many more people can do it. All right. And I don't know how long it's going to be free. So that's kind of why I'm telling everybody to get online and do it.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. All right. Now, the next topic that I've got, and I've got a couple more slides for you, not too many, but the next topic is American foul brood. Now, I talked about this to everybody, and my BBO colleague in New South Wales, Rod Burke, he's pretty blunt, and he says this to me all the time. He goes, "Ellie, bees fly everywhere and wherever they want, and if there's honey, they will find it." And he says every single person, whether it's a managed beehive, a neglected hive, a feral colony, are open to getting American foul brood through robbing. So I need you guys to know that American foul brood is absolutely everywhere in Victoria, and the chances of you getting it during, you know, your beekeeping journey, I have to say there is a chance, right? We've got lots of feral colonies out there, and the best line of defense that you've got is to always be conducting brood checks, really thorough brood checks. That is your, I guess, the fastest way that you're going to be able to see that something's not quite right. Now, I know that's kind of scary, sorry, but if you're always doing proper brood checks, you will start to notice when the brood doesn't look right. You look for any cappings, the capped over cells that have been chewed around the edges. Flick that. Take a little matchstick with you and flick it off and see what's inside. Sometimes it's chalk brood and it's nothing, you know, the girls will clean that up. But sometimes it's like a coffee kind of colored snotty thing. And when that happens, call me. Okay. But there is an early warning system thing that you can do. And although in the biosecurity code of practice, if you have 50 or more hives, you have to do this. I actually recommend everybody does it. If you've got a cat or a dog and you worm it, I think my worming tablets for my cat the other day were somewhere like $50. I think I bought a big pack and it was a bit more. But even though I haven't seen the worm, I worm them, right? Because I want them to know that they're healthy. Think of the honey culture test a little bit like that as well. Now, right now, you've probably done some extractions. I know Ballarat had a half season this year. Some of you got some really good honey. Save a little bit and do a honey culture test. So you can email Gribbles at that email address. So vets@gribbles.com, .com.au. If you email them and say, could I please have a honey culture test kit emailed to me? This is my bee registration number. This is my address. They'll post it out to you in a heartbeat. And all you do is fill it up. Make sure it's not half full. Make sure it's a nice clean sample. But make sure if you've got 3 hives at home in your one apiary, try to take a little bit of honey from each of those hives and put it into that one container. That's a composite load to show the result. And so they will send you back an AFB and EFB test. And that's like an early warning system because you probably didn't even know that it was in there. Then it's a matter of figuring out which hives got it. The test is averaging, I think, about $55 at the moment. So if you've got an apiary of 3 hives, don't do 1 hive each. It's too expensive. Just do one. It's just like getting to make sure that they're all healthy. So I really recommend that you have a look at doing this year. It's a once-off, just to know coming through winter what you're going to be prepared for coming out of spring. I do it every year. I've got 5 hives now, 6. The only reason I do it is because I share a spinner, an extractor with my best bee buddy down the road. I want him to know that my hives are clean and that I'm going to clean this tank really well before I return it, and he can have confidence that I'm not spreading American foul brood. So sometimes it's not just knowing the health, but it's other reasons as well. So recommend that everybody jump on board that.
Yeah.
One more slide. Barrier systems. Now, if anybody's heard the word barrier system, this really applies. Think of it about the best way to manage disease. It's being able to know that you are not cross-contaminating your hives. So I want you to do a quick Google. There are lots of different ways to conduct a barrier system. We always recommend that you do it as a single hive. So the frames that go into that box stay in that box. That honey super belongs to that box, that brood box. And you can do that however you like, color coding, numbering, cattle tagging, whatever way works for you. And it can be a bit difficult sometimes because you want to take a brood frame from that hive and put it into that hive. That's okay. But just in your records, know that's what you've done. So if ever you find something unusual, you'll know which hive to go back and check. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Things like if anybody is coming to your apiary to help you, tell them how you work your bees so they can do the same thing, that they're washing their hive tools before they go to the boxes, things like that. So look up barrier system. It really applies if you are starting to get more and more hives and you want to make sure that you can jump on top of a pest or a disease really fast by isolating which is the infected hive. Jude, I could talk about barrier systems for a long time, but I won't because I know I'm already over time. So let me recap, everybody. I want you to mentally think, tick, tick, tick if I've done it. Are you registered? Yes, you get a high five from me if I was there. Make sure you've constructed your hives correctly and that they're branded. Get them out beautifully for spring. Make sure you email us or call us or text us if you've got any notifiable pests or diseases. And think about always doing inspections for pests and diseases, right? Keep your records however you want, just keep them and learn about what types of pests and diseases are out there. Do it through your club, through reading books, not necessarily Googling. Books are great because that's, you know, I know that lots of clubs have got great libraries as well. Borrow a book. Think about doing a honey culture test, just one for the whole year, and maintain a barrier system. Now, I've talked a lot tonight, but if you want to go back after any of this info or grab a digital copy of the Biosecurity Code of Practice, go onto that website, beaware.org.au, and you'll be able to download it and see, you know, our details. And here's how to contact the apiary team. We're in the field an awful lot. So if you ever want somebody to call you back, a good way is to email honeybee.biosecurity@agriculture.vic.gov.au. Whoever's in the office will be able to reply to you immediately, but there's our contact numbers as well. Hey guys, thanks for having me, and sorry that I'm not there in person, but I hope that you have a really great night.
And thank you so much to you, Ellie. It's always great to see your smiling, energetic person talking about all these passions that you love. And I'm hoping that our state, our nation is much better because everybody's getting on board with all of this. So a huge clap to you, Ellie, and I'm sure all of the other members are clapping right now because it's always great to have you. And we look forward to seeing you in person very soon. Yeah. I believe you are going away on Thursday to some emergency occasion, inspection or something.
Yes.
So I'm hoping it's not like...
We'll get it under control.
Good on you.
We'll get it under control. But I am going to the Recreational Beekeepers Conference in Geelong in a couple of weeks. Fantastic. I'll be at the Mildura Field Day very soon, and the Victorian Apiarist Association's running their conference in Bendigo as well. So if you want to catch me, come and visit me there as well. Yes,
I met a person yesterday who was very excited to be thinking about meeting you in Geelong. So that's great. Yeah, already. So anyway, thank you so much again. Thanks for actually fitting it in today. Pleasure. And making this all work.
Thanks for organising it, Jude. Thanks. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.